Our next story is about your guy, the main guy, the big guy. You might call him Lia Thomas. I guess his name's William. I kept calling him Luke when I was writing this story, and somebody had to correct me. I don't know if I was thinking of Luke and Leia Skywalker, or Luke is just more similar to Leia, but it's William Thomas. And William Thomas is back. He's back in full force, and not because of something he's done recently, but because of something that he did, and somebody's finally talking about it. This is a Hungarian girl who was also an NCAA swimmer, 2016 Olympian named Reka Georgi, and she was basically talking about her experience at the NCAA championships. So long story short, we'll play her words here. She was talking to a couple teammates or other girls outside of the women's change room, and she goes to go in, and as she's going in, Leah, Big Daddy Thomas, is coming out, and they sort of, she's going in, he's coming out, and she turns into him, and she quickly realizes her junk is pressed up against him, pressed up against her arm. He's 6'4", she's 5'9", and she's like, kind of in shock. There's a guy coming out of the change room. What's going on here? And she said he sort of just smiled. I said, sorry. I don't know how he sounds, but she said it was in a man's voice. So this is Reka Georgi. Let's hear what she had to say. It's a minute long.
I remember the first time I ran into Thomas. It was one day before the meet started. I was talking with one of my teammates on the pool deck in front of the locker room door. I opened the locker room door and was about to turn around and walk into the locker room to change when I physically bumped into Thomas. I was shocked by his size. He was about 6 feet 4 inches tall, and I was shocked that as he bumped into me, his male genitalia was touching my hand that was stuck between us as he was leaving the locker room. I couldn't even say sorry. I froze, and he just smiled at me and said sorry in a male voice. We did not even have a women's locker room for the NCAA Women's National Championships. I repeatedly looked over my shoulder the whole time while I was changing. I was terrified knowing he could walk in on me at any second as I changed into my swimsuit, and the private areas of my body would be exposed to this man, and my privacy and desire not to expose myself to a man unwillingly stripped from me.
So that's the creepy recollection of Lia Thomas being in the women's locker, the change room at the NCAA Women's Championship, but that's how that goes. So, of course, allegedly not submissible in court, hearsay, Your Honor. We all know, I'm not a lawyer, by the way. We all know the reasons behind this. Now, the main argument is he feels like a woman. He feels like a woman. But all men know what would drive a man to want to be a woman, to want to compete against women, and that's because he feels he was mistreated or that he never got attention from women. So on one hand, it's like, these girls never paid attention to me, and that's not fair, and I'm a great person, and while that might be true, the solution there is now I'm the girl, now I have the power, I'm the pretty girl, I can reject the men. At the same time, that revenge thing that's happening there is also, I'm gonna beat the crap out of them in whatever sport. Sometimes it's boxing, other times it's just swimming. So on one hand, you want to be the pretty girl who's in control. Now I can reject the women. Also, I can beat these women and show them, and they're not anything. They're trash. I can beat them easily. So there's all these weird components that every man knows that's what the type of guy that would do something like that. That's the type of guy who would have these feelings about wanting to become a woman, a lonely, weird guy. And then on top of that, you've got the whole mental illness capacity there that drives them to actually follow through on that. Of course, all hearsay, Your Honor. I'm not a lawyer. This is not admissible in court. It's just my opinion. We have to say these things. We have to say it. We have to be perfect. But the creepiness factor from the girl's perspective is a guy could walk in at any time when otherwise that wouldn't happen, is that you might press up against his dong when he's there. And, a guy doesn't want to be walked in on by women changing either, because we are disgusting and we don't want uh, to be judged either, and unless we think it's hilarious, which many times it is. But it's the physical threat that the women have to worry about. You don't have to worry about a women coming into a men's locker room and just there's no threat there. But the other way around there is. So, but this is a place without security and allow men and women's change rooms. And in North America, for some reason, this is, a hotly debated issue that is now pretty much over in terms of the hormones and stuff for children. Nobody really cares about whether or not a guy wants to pretend he's a woman and go into a drag queen bar or whatever, but the pushing of it on children has been, pretty much defeated in more liberal places in Europe, in the UK, and places that people in North America that are leftists would generally point towards are not in agreement with them on it. So they really just live in their own world in terms of this. It's a very unique American and Canadian problem where they think it's, the best thing in the world for some reason. And that extends to adults in a lot of situations where it's just basically like, hey, deal with it. 50 other girls need to deal with this to make this one guy feel comfortable. And that's just the epitome of, pussification of culture and not wanting to be mean to somebody. We shouldn't have to tiptoe around this guy's feelings for women's feelings and for their safety, because that's supposed to come first. And that's the weird thing about it. And because of this, swimming has banned it. Women's cycling has banned it. It's going to be coming with darts soon, I predict. There's a bunch of sports, of course, not boxing, that's for sure. A bunch of women's sports that are, kicking the men out because, like that's real sexism there, where it's like, I don't care about your feelings. These are my feelings as a man, and they trump your feelings, so I get to do whatever I want and say whatever I want and take your sport away from you and defeat you at it, which is obviously going to be the outcome almost every time.
Turn it up, Jordan.